Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again here in the motherfucking virtual studio, the Tip Touch podcast back at you in full effect. And of course, as always, I have my awesome co-host Brett. And here we are, baby, back at it once again, man. I mean, we sloughed a little bit from last weekend. You know, we had some things we had to do and take care of and handle as we are as fucking businessmen. I'm just kidding. I spent time with my family. I just wanted to sound cool, you know. I'm getting ready when we sign those fucking big deals or those partnerships, because, you know, we ain't selling our fucking souls like Joe Budden says. So, you know, we're going to follow that fucking wave, you know. We're not going to sell ourselves short when we get to that point. But anyways, yeah, man, I mean, we missed last weekend, but we're back at it here again, man. What's going on, Brett? What's up, brother?
Not much, just, you know, plugging away over here in the homestead, you know, preparing for the apocalypse. And we've got a bunker started, and it's all 3/4 plated steel. And it's just, a hidden passageway. Like I've got like a level below the basement, and then the tunnel actually goes to the field out back, so that if I need to make a quick exit, it's already there. So.
Oh, damn. So you're actually like, you're actually digging underneath your house then?
Digging underneath it. Yep. You know, just got, you know, different tunnel routes and, you know, making sure that there's oxygen, running water down there in case I have to live down there for a while. So I've maxed out my Home Depot credit line, but, you know, it's worth it to me because I think that eventually it'll come to the point where I don't even need to pay it off anymore.
You imagine just making a freaking immense amount of trips to freaking Home Depot. Like, this guy's like building something out of, you know, he's already maxed out 3 of his cards. So
yeah, this guy is buying a lot of cement.
And it's not to bury dead bodies in the river either, you know. We're not doing that.
No. Normally that duct tape accompanies that purchase too. Yeah. So and I haven't bought. I think I got all the duct tape covered. I think I'm good.
Yeah, baby.
Just doing the thing, man. What about you?
Not much, man. I mean, just here, you know, chilling here in the laboratory right here. You know, definitely. You know, had to set the setup up. You know, since we're gonna do this thing virtual, so we can keep on a continuous path and releasing new episodes every weekend. So you have to find like an alternate route to go to make this happen. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I gotta get it done, and here we are.
You know what's funny is when we first started recording and we started the podcast pre-COVID, and one of the things we talked about was, well, you know, there's a lot of distance between you and I.
Yeah.
You know, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And dude, I'm telling you, like back then, all we had was Skype. Zoom may have been around, but it really wasn't the Zoom that it is today. Like I think COVID really kicked the folks over at Zoom into high gear, and they ended up making something totally good. So it totally makes this show a lot better, a lot user friendly for us to just be able to go, you know, satellite. I didn't think it was going to work, really. I mean, at first I thought, well, shoot, you know, let's at least strive for once a month to get together in the studio. But and you know, there's nothing better than having that face to face.
For sure.
But the way that Zoom is making it so user friendly, man, it's hard to knock it.
And I'll say that it doesn't really actually being in the studio at the, you know, at the studio over there at the White House. Nothing beats that, having that, you know, face-to-face conversation. That's always going to be such an organic, like, you know, delivery. When it's always like those good moments you have when you're actually in the studio, and especially like when we have awesome guests, like when we had our boy Miguel. Shout outs to Miguel.
I talked to him the other day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I talked to him, and he said he's still feeling like a boss from the cigar. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I know. I keep mine right here on my close to my desktop right here, just as a little memento, man. Like,
yeah,
you know,
man.
That's how a boss should feel, and have like a freaking stack of those Cohibas just stacked on my freaking desk, you know.
Yeah, you break those out for the good times, man.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
But yeah, definitely. But in regards to you were saying about pre-COVID, we were kind of in the loop, or we were kind of out of the loop in a sense, to trying to figure out how are we going to make this happen. And I feel like COVID kicked us into high gear to figure out all this stuff. Like, okay, we need to adapt. We need to find a way how to make this happen. And especially in the current situation at the time, you know, to work with what we got. And fortunately enough, you know, we came up with this, and I feel like it's great. It's working phenomenal because, I mean, you know, we both each got our own things going on here and there. And, we find a time, an hour to an hour and a half, 2 hours max, depending on the conversation, to make it work. And, I feel like we deliver some awesome things here for all the lovely people out there to listen to. So, I mean,
Yeah.
in a
And
way, it may, it all worked out, it's
yep.
crazy.
And I think, as far as there's so many things that go that go on behind the scenes that people don't realize. Like, when you are planning for like a satellite interview or whatever, you want to make sure it's a big deal to have the best, not the best, but a microphone that you can work with, your audio quality, your video quality. So again, Zoom, once more and more people started getting onto this Zoom meeting and doing that, they're like, man, I need to upgrade my audio. I need to upgrade my video. And people just like did that on their own.
Yeah.
And so really, yeah, it's a whole new world this year. And pretty interesting, man. I was wondering though, I was like thinking, you know how, like, I was thinking about 9/11 and how,
Mm-hmm.
When 9/11 happened, we knew, like, when you hear nothing's ever going to be the same, nothing's ever going to be the same. When you hear that, you don't know what that means when you're initially saying that until you've lived, after that event. And I remember, with 9/11, it changed going to the airport so much. I remember being able to go with my family all the way to the boarding gate and then watching that airplane take off. Right nowadays, you wouldn't even think of doing anything like that. And this is worldwide. I mean, it was like, that's what blows my mind, is that, September 11th of 2001, that event in one city, one American city. I mean, technically you can say that it was, Pennsylvania, whatever, but all the planes flew out of New York. And it was mainly New York that, the Twin Towers falling, that created this catalyst that the rest of the world got behind. So like every time we travel overseas, right, we go abroad, it's the same exact setup. They make sure that nobody goes to the boarding gate unless you have that ticket. Except in rare occasions where you can, like, if you're picking up a minor, you can get a what they call a dummy boarding pass. But I mean, I was just thinking, okay, so that's, and not only that, but the 9/11, the Patriot Act, right? How we just, out of fear, everything changed. We were like, you know what? Pass the Patriot Act. It sounds patriotic. It sounds like something we need. But then, some years passed, and then you look at some of the things that have happened where the authorities, Edward Snowden, he ended up on the run because he was looking at this massive intrusion of privacy by the NSA. And he said, this isn't right. And he was a whistleblower, and he's been on the run ever since. And it's just it's so crazy to me that he's still on the run. He's still in trouble. Two, I'm surprised that Trump, with all of the beef that he's had with all of the corrupt officials, that he hasn't pardoned Edward Snowden in the same way, for the same reason. Like, hey, I'm going to pardon him because he really did. The courts, the Ninth Circuit Court, found recently that in fact, I think he was talking about this on the latest podcast on Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ninth Circuit Court found that he actually, like, that the NSA was breaking laws. So with him being a whistleblower, he was a true whistleblower to the definition. So my question is, why, if he was a true whistleblowers have whistleblower protection, why is he still on the run?
That's a good question.
That's what's just it just, I think we're just living in this made up world where, we say that there's rules, we say that there's laws, but when it comes down to it, it's some people. The laws and these rules apply only to some people, Because if this were, liberty, America is known for having the scales of justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Lady Liberty she's blindfolded, and that's to say that justice is blind. Well, if it was blind, again, why is Edward Snowden still on the run? And for that matter, Julian Assange, he, he's getting told that he has this platform, the WikiLeaks, right? He was being told, they were saying, well, yeah, because you have WikiLeaks, we want to take you down. Wait a minute. No, all he was doing with WikiLeaks was the distributor. That was the publisher. The publishers with that whatever, the Espionage Act, the publishers have never gotten in trouble. Now all of a sudden there's a publisher that's getting in trouble. So it's not fair how all of this stuff is going. It's not, justice certainly is not blind, and it is picking some are guilty. Bradley Manning, which became Chelsea Manning, ended up getting a full pardon from President Barack Obama. So, but then again, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and many more are still on the run.
Yeah. So that's crazy that was it. What was the terminology, or the
espionage?
No, espionage. The company that was spying on us.
Oh, the NSA?
NSA. I was going to say NRA, but that's the gun one, right?
The National Security Administration, I think it is. National.
So they never really got they didn't even get a slap on the wrist for that, did they?
So what they did was they started getting rid of all of their, they said, okay, we're going to delete all these files, and they said that they did, but I don't know what true oversight they have. And really, they're all in cahoots. When I'm reading all this stuff now with even with Trump. Apparently, all these FBI lawyers, when they were spying on him, they were using what's called a FISA warrant, which is basically, hey, we have just cause to spy on an American citizen, and we would like to be able to do it in secrecy. So here they were spying on not just an American citizen, but an American citizen running for the highest office in the United States. And so what they've been finding is that these FBI agents were all in cahoots with each other, and they all knew, with what's his name, Flynn, the guy that served a year in prison. They knew that they actually didn't have anything on him. They knew that, and yet they still put him in prison because, and that's where you start to see this kind of stuff. And, I've talked about it so much, but this is the type of stuff you see when an empire is about to collapse on itself. When nobody can agree to anything, and all of our money is going out, and there's no checks and balances. We used to have checks and balances, but the corruption has taken place. The civil unrest in this country is just off the charts, more than we've seen in a long time. We see that with these riots and protests that have been happening since, I think, May 25th, since the George Floyd death of George Floyd, it's resulted in over $1 billion in damage from insurance claims. And they're saying that it could reach up to $2 billion. That's crazy. Anytime you have this kind of things, I think that what we're really seeing in this country, at first, when it was first happening, I thought, it's just like every other protest. It'll go away. People will get tired, whatever. But it hasn't stopped. In fact, it's just grown more. In fact, it's gotten more popular. It's gone worldwide. So again, I think that what we are seeing in this country, I think that we are seeing, if not the fall of America, the beginning stages of the fall of America, something, a massive blow to it. And it's just on all fronts. I mean, like I said, you're going to see this election cycle is going to get crazy. It's going to get insane. And, but you know, I mean, this stuff has been gradually happening. Right. And like, you know, what, you were telling me about WACO, you were listening to a podcast on WACO, Texas and Ruby Ridge. And, you know, those were some of the beginning events. So yeah, tell me what you were reading about with all that stuff.
So it's fairly interesting, and also I want to add into just before we go into that, you were talking about how the protests haven't really settled down, and even you have to throw into the mix now with the Breonna Taylor. What is it? They charged one of the cops with I guess firing his
mischief or something.
Yeah, like unlawfully firing his weapon, pretty much. But they didn't mention the fact that, well, in the midst of that, you killed Breonna Taylor as well. But then they're gonna use the reasonings because her boyfriend shot at the cop too, right? Yeah. Isn't that kind of what the file says? So I don't know. I really don't know what they're gonna do in that situation. But I mean, right now, obviously, they're not too happy with the verdict or, you know, just the outcome of it. I really don't know specifically the charges that the cop got, but I mean, obviously for it to cause, you know, all these riots and just all these protests, I mean, it's obviously not settling down with the citizens, you know, so it's crazy, man.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. What I was reading was the cop that was the only cop that was on trial, and that got off was not even the cop that killed Breonna Taylor. It was just the cop that randomly, I mean, he was blindly shooting. He admitted to blindly shooting through the curtains, and it went through the neighbors' houses, you know, and could have easily killed somebody.
Yeah. So it's like, what could they get charged with that? Like at that point, then, if he admitted to saying, yeah, I was shooting just
I guarantee
randomly.
you, if somebody would have died with his gunfire, he would not have admitted. The police would have lawyered up, and you wouldn't know that he was firing. He would not have had admitted it if someone died. I can guarantee you that. Blue always protects blue. That's just the way it is. And until you can get people within the police department, and I think this is part of the reform that needs to take place, to be able to stand up against their, you know, fellow police officers, like instead of looking at it as, oh, I'm going against my bro. Hey man, you did the wrong thing. Like I can't stand for that. You know?
Definitely. So something has to happen kind of within the pool.
It's got to happen. Yeah. And you know, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, but I know that, you know, if that were to have been done, if that were something that was practiced, and I think it's going to be easier said than done. You look at, you know, people when you're in the military, it's certainly a bond. It's a life bond that you're making. And when you do see somebody doing something wrong, I mean, if anyone's ever going to speak out against them, it's got to be someone that doesn't even know them.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It's just that's the type of thing. So I would doubt that you would ever see that take place. I can't see, you know, with everything, with the support, because everyone hates them right now. Everyone hates police. Yeah. And, you know, they feel like they need each other more than at any other time. So I don't know.
So do you feel like at the core of that, like if there can be change within that pool, it's just going to be like a repeating cycle then, like for when certain things like this happen?
No, I don't think. I think something is going to happen. These protests, and I think, you know, with the amount of damage and the amount of fear, I mean, you have people that don't even want to open businesses anymore just because they've had their businesses looted and burned down, and, you know, just, and you know, the fear that's a traumatizing event. It's unsustainable. You know, people just won't even do it anymore. So something's going to happen. I think that it's going to be a slow healing. But I think really what has to happen is the police there has to be some serious reforms, and a lot of it, like, you know, one thing I would like to see is the no knock warrant removal of the no-knock warrant. No
Yeah.
time can you come in just blazing. Now, just for the listeners, for some listeners are going to say, but Brett, this was not, the Breonna Taylor, they did knock, they did announce. Yes, that's true. So I don't want to, there have been witnesses. Even Breonna Taylor's boyfriend admitted that the police said that it was the police, but he was thinking 3 a.m. No way. That's not police, whatever. And then, so, and I don't think the boyfriend did anything wrong. Even if someone announces at 3 a.m., if I'm in my house and I don't think, I'm like, what's nobody has anything. I doubt those are police, and with
you almost
everything
kind of want to
on,
second guess yourself too, at a time like you said, if we were to put ourselves in that position, 3 a.m, you hear a knock, you're like, somebody says it's the police. You kind of have that thing as the fuck, like what, why? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I don't fault the boyfriend at all. I think he acted in a way that I would have reacted if somebody came just busting into my door at 3 a.m. and then now they're breaking in. I mean, that's my duty as the head of household and the father and the husband of this home is to protect everyone, as many people as I can.
Definitely.
And so I don't think he did anything wrong at all. I think, and again, I mean, and those are the tactics. I mean, I don't think this is a very simple, this is not a simple situation. Cause then, so say, okay, well, what if, you want to catch it's the police. They want to catch the supposed suspects off guard, so what's the best way? I mean, they have to try to protect themselves. If they come and announce themselves in the afternoon when they're all surrounded, there's more traffic, and that's why I say I don't know what the right answer is, but I don't know. I just want, we have so much violence in this country. And I think that what it comes down to is there's a lot of, I think if we got down to the root cause of why there's so much violence, maybe it's poverty, maybe it's opportunity. And if you start addressing that and people start to feel like, you know what? I don't have to sell drugs. I don't have to sell drugs. I don't have to do crime. I don't have to do this, right? You start giving people a chance, then you give someone something to lose, they're going to think twice. They're not going to play games, right? I mean, why would I sell drugs if I finally get an opportunity to work for a company making anywhere between $70,000 a year? I wouldn't do it. At that point, I'm like, wow, $70,000 a year. I can get a home. I can get a family. Then I get a wife who also can make $70,000 a year. We're doing good, but you get these people that, they're living right above the median living wage, which I'm telling you, I've looked at the median living wage and I'm going, there's no way I could live on that. So I don't know who's coming up with that median living wage. That's because I would consider that poor.
Yeah.
And if when you're poor, I'm telling you, I've been poor, and you make decisions that you wouldn't make if you had money.
Survival of the fittest at that point, man. That's kind of how I see it.
Yep. Yep. So that's what I'm saying. I think that's one thing that we could do to do is just give opportunities. Start working with, I want to say there's always going to be poor people. That's the thing. I mean, there's, no matter what country you go to, there's always poor people, but provide that opportunity and start really working it.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's going to be, like you said, it's going to separate those people that actually want to take that chance and make something of it. And there's going to be those people that are just not going to take it, or they're just going to be comfortable where they're currently at that point. But yeah, I feel it, man. I feel it. But you were, we wanted to make a transition into the WACO situation and the Ruby Ridge event as well. You mentioned about it a couple of weeks ago, and I actually took some time to really kind of listen to a couple of podcasts out there that gave some pretty good information about it. I was just blown away by the whole thing, man, because it kind of ties into, like you were saying, the no knock warrant, where they can just knock or bust in without even like notifying you who they are, what they're there for, and who they're looking for, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But these so these are two separate events, but they kind of tie in with each other. And we'll go with the first one that happened first, which is Ruby Ridge, right?
Yeah, Ruby Ridge,
So
Idaho.
so just to give you a little synopsis of just or a little just summary of what happened. So um it was Ruby Ridge was the location of a violent 11-day standoff in remote Boundary County, Idaho. It happened on the August 21st, 1992. U.S. Marshals and federal agents faced off against Randy Weaver, his wife, and 5 children, and his friend, Kevin Harris. The Ruby Ridge incident was the culmination of years of investigation into Weaver by local authorities, the FBI and the ATF and the Secret Service. It ended with the shooting deaths of a U.S. Marshal, Weaver's wife Vicky, and their teenage son Samuel, who they called Sammy. So when I was listening to this, so kind of what I was telling you on how it really all started, right? I guess his wife was really she was really religious. She was talking about how, you know, God was speaking to her and how she was getting these premonitions of, you know, the world ending, and they needed to get away from like all this stuff that was happening within the inner city, and they just kind of wanted to get away.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved to Idaho, right? And upon moving there, they bought some land, and they made a little cabin that they made by themselves, like handmade everything, right?
Yep. Yep.
And apparently it all kind of this whole thing kind of went down south because there was a dispute over land. Randy Weaver and another gentleman, they got into it about a land that I guess Randy didn't get the amount, or he didn't pay the other man the amount that was required for that piece of land or whatever.
Mm.
So this other gentleman made threatening, like he pretty much ratted on this guy, made it seem like he was this crazy, just made a bunch of shit about him, right?
Yeah.
And they started investigating him, and they pretty much from there it was like a snowball effect to where they just found any reason that they were just going to take this guy down. Like, but you want to keep into account that, you know, he could have seen maybe like he was probably one of those, like, you know, I guess standoffish kind of type dudes, right? But the moral of the story is like these dude came in like with heavy artillery, excessive force. I mean, it was shoot to kill. Pretty much that's what they were told. Everybody around there was shoot to kill. You see them, you shoot them. And man, I'll tell you what, dude, I think the first line of attack was U.S. Marshals killed their family dog. And they were saying in some of the reports that it seemed like the dog was hit as he turned his back, as he ran towards the Marshals, and then ran back to I believe it was Sammy, because he went after looking for his dog. And they found that the dog was actually going to Sammy, and one of the Marshals just shot him, and then Sammy shot at one of the Marshals, and then the Marshals just let loose on the kid and killed the kid. And man, it just went downhill from there, man. They ended up killing the mother of Sammy, the wife of Randy, while holding their 10-month-old baby. I mean, and dude, when I heard that part, like, these motherfuckers show no mercy at all. Like, they just like I said, shoot to kill. You see them, take them out. It was insane.
I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this, but not to bring race into this, but white people have been knowing that the government has been coming in with these heavy-handed tactics. So white people have been knowing that, because, you know, we would be watching the news, and anytime there was any type of a standoff, whether it was Randy Weaver or David Koresh, or even the Bundy group that was in Oregon, who had claims, and this was under the Obama administration, where one of the feds ended up, or I think it was a state trooper, someone ended up killing one of the Bundy Ranch family members.
I think I remember that.
They all got found not guilty as well. They were found not guilty as well. So, you know, so someone like me who has seen all Americans, rights just dwindle away, being, I mean, really stolen and robbed by our government. When I look at all these protests going on right now, because of all these the BLM, the whole agenda is to make it appear as if it's just black people that this stuff is happening to, and more power to them if they want to protest that and make it sound like it's just black people. But all of us that have been watching the Randy Weavers, the David Koreshes, and the Bundy group, we're saying we're just kind of kicking back and like, hey, we're going to let you fight this battle, but because it's about time somebody else fights this battle. Because we've been knowing that the government has been using heavy-handed tactics. And until all of us Americans start to understand that it's not just you as black people and you as white people, it's all of us, and it's the same approach every time, then I think we the people can start coming together. But we're so split up as it is anyway. Today, I don't know if there is any way of making it happen on a large scale level that it needs to be, because we really do need to be unified. We really do need a leader to emerge among the people, not the politicians. The politicians have already sold us out. They have already gotten our debts way, reaching $27 trillion, or 27 trillion. It's an amount that you and I will never be able to grasp with our minds.
Yeah, man.
And and so that's why it's really cool to see these types of stories start to come out, and eventually more and more people will start to realize, oh wow, this thing, this stuff with the police and becoming militarized, this has been happening. People, this is what gets people like Alex Jones in trouble, is because he's trying to tell people this is what's happening. Your government is selling you out. And it gets him demonetized, banned on social media platforms. What do they call it? Unpersoned. Basically, they want it to be to where anybody who speaks out against mainstream media and the government become non-existent. So, I mean, I may sound paranoid. I'm just saying, I'm just watching what I see, and I'm just saying what I see. But this is stuff that, they do it a little bit at a time to where we don't taste the poison that we're drinking from our well water.
Yeah.
But the well has definitely been poisoned.
Yeah. And I think it's more of a, really just kind of being against a tyrannical government, that they can just break any law to achieve what they want to achieve at that moment, or reach that objective, which in this case was, getting Randy Weaver to surrender at any cost, which is whether you kill their son, his wife, the mother of his children. It's some fucked up shit, man. And I just look at it from a perspective of like, you literally having no rights whatsoever. Then and there, you're just fucking, you're a target at that point.
Yeah,
So I look at it.
And the thing is like, you look at the what happened, right? We all know that Randy Weaver, he lost his wife. I mean, imagine being in that situation where, much like Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, and Breonna Taylor, her boyfriend lost who he could have ended up marrying.
Yeah.
Breonna Taylor's parents lost their daughter. Her friends and her family members, they lost a loved one. Over what? Same thing with Randy Weaver. He lost a wife, he lost a son, he lost a dog. Over what? Dave Koresh. Now here, I want to just make this one, there were people that came out and said that there was some sexual molestation or something, some sort of assault going on a sexual level at the thing. So I don't want to sit here and defend David Koresh as a person necessarily, but for what the ATF and the FBI did, bringing in tanks, and Janet Reno, she was the attorney general at the time under President Bill Clinton. She signed off on all of this. She approved all of this stuff. She knew what they were doing. And so what that ended up doing is they took a tank, they light this tear gas, whatever, that's supposed to be not even used in war, and they're using it on their own Americans, and they kill multiple children, multiple people on this compound.
25 children, 75 people.
Man, and so imagine,
that's insane.
imagine here you are, and those people were also deeply religious as well. And
Branch Davidians, that's what they
yeah,
called.
the Branch Davidians. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And you know, and again, so Dave Koresh seems like he was kind of a weird dude, but even weird dudes are entitled true liberty. You know, under the law, under the Constitution, you have to give even weird dudes that have weird religions equal justice.
Definitely.
And but I think that what we continue to do is we allow the media to set the stage and to set the agenda. And anytime the media would talk about Dave Koresh and Randy Weaver, they would make them sound like racist, religious nuts, and white supremacists. And so when people hear that, they don't look into it and they just run with it. And so the media controls the game.
Yeah.
CNN, ABC, what other, NBC, all those, they run the game, they run it. And so until we can come up with some sort of independent journalism, and I think a lot of people are trying, and I think that's the beauty of of having YouTube out there, is that
Or
it
Twitter.
allows. But the thing is you're hearing, if you do go again, if you don't kiss the ring, if you don't kiss the ring of the mainstream media, you start to go against it, they start to demonetize you. They start to take your platform, shadow ban you. They're doing all these things, and people are trying to call it out. But I think instead of us being New York, New Rome, I think we are New China, because China is doing this type of censorship to its own people, but on a larger scale. In 1939, no one complained that well, I don't know when the first internment camp started with the Jewish people, but when the Jewish people started getting rounded up, it wasn't, they didn't just get rounded up in one night. What it was it slowly over time took place. At first, they just started this propaganda campaign. Then they said, okay, now we're going to take your property. Then they took their property, they took all their belongings, and they moved them to the ghettos. Then they started rounding them up. And guess what? Americans were helping them. The machine that they used to give the numbers tattooed on their hands, that was invented by IBM. They came up with that.
And they're still here.
There were many American businesses working with them.
That's insane. You told me about that, and I was like, IBM, really? They make computers, right? Or they used to make computers?
Yeah, I don't know what they do anymore, but yeah, international business machines or something. I think that's their. But and it's the same thing today. So nobody complained that all these Jewish people were in these internment camps getting killed left and right until Nazi Germany started invading other countries. It was all good. There was no, nobody was getting involved in Hitler's beef with the Jewish people while he was keeping, his border within Germany. But once he started invading Poland and, all these other countries, that's when it was like, well, they were looking for a reason to fight back. And then they used that, humanity as a reason, when really they didn't care before. And we are doing the same thing with China. And China has rounded up all these Uyghur Muslims and their re-educational camps. And, they're doing so much more, but we don't have any ways of knowing about it.
Yeah.
But, America sits on the sidelines. All these other countries that claim to be for human rights and fight for human rights, they're all sitting on the sidelines. Nobody who has power is doing anything. In fact, the NBA is just selling their soul by banning anybody that says free Hong Kong. And Hong Kong is like, we want human rights. And China says no. And now they're having a beef with the Mongolians in their country. And America, again, sits on the sidelines. Not our fight. Nobody's fight. Nobody cares about human rights until, China starts invading other countries. And guess what? They took over some islands in the South China Sea called the Spratly Islands, and they put a military base on there. They've taken over Hong Kong. They're getting ready to take over Taiwan. And
oh shit, really?
Oh yeah, they're doing some laws. I don't know exactly what they're doing with Taiwan. I'll have to look into it more, but they're doing it to where they are not allowing Taiwan to be its own country anymore. And
Interesting.
then they're doing the same thing with the Mongolians in the country. They're taking them over with the Uyghur Muslims. I've already talked about them. They're putting them in re-education camps, and basically they're taking religion away from everybody. You're not allowed to have any type of religion. You can get killed if you end up having a Bible or a Quran or any type of religious text. So no human rights in China, and to see America going down that same path, it's just insane.
Sham. It's insane. Yeah. And also too, I did, when I was reading about that, when we were talking about that, this was a couple months ago when this started happening, right? Or when we caught wind of it, right? Because there was like aerial footage of drones flying around, like seeing all these people,
Yes.
with their heads covered, handcuffed. They were running over a lot of the graveyards where people were buried that were, that shit's crazy. That when I saw them, like, yeah, this is serious, man.
Yep. And not only that, yeah, they're running over the graveyard. That's crazy. But then the language that these people speak, they're throwing away all of their historical books. So they're throwing away their history, they're throwing away their culture, and they're making them speak the Mandarin Chinese, to where they all speak the same language. Yeah, they're completely erasing these people's cultures and identities completely. It's insane. It's insane. So it's crazy. I think that, I wish that America would stand up more. I wish that other countries, this isn't just an American fight. This is a global, like anytime you hear of a country, but everybody is too busy kissing the ring of China. They have a lot of money. They're funding a lot of efforts. They're helping the NBA make millions of dollars. They're helping big tech make millions of dollars. I mean,
Africa too.
What's that?
They're buying out Africa, or they're buying a lot of, like, giving a lot of loans to, like with Akon. Well, we'll talk about here in a minute with his city, the city that he's building. China gave him a loan, right, to do that.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that actually. So with the research that I've been doing, I wanted to elaborate more, and maybe we will in a future episode. But so there's two things that you can look at China in two ways. We don't know. Nobody's been able to, and I wish Akon would be more transparent about it. But is it a Chinese investor, or is it someone from the Communist Chinese Party?
Okay.
Who is the? Because here's the thing, and this is one thing we have to make very clear, is that there's a difference between, when we say China, there's a difference between the people of China, who are just under their rules, and then there's the Chinese Communist Party. Those are the ones calling the shot. So President Xi Jinping, however you say his name, anybody under his umbrella, under his authority, that's who I'm talking about when I say the Chinese. Now the people, I'm telling you, there's a story that I know about a guy that you and I know. His brother married a Chinese national, and they own a company. I think it's like a tea company, so they get their tea leaves from China. And so he was telling me a story about the wife, when they saw these Chinese war jets flying over them, like fighter jets.
Yeah.
Said, oh my gosh, there's fighter jets. They must be training. And the wife said, oh no, those are private jets that the rich Chinese use. Like, did you not see the missiles on there?
Yeah.
We're from America. We know what a fighter jet looks like, and we know what a private jet looks like. Those were fighter jets.
Oh, so she didn't know, like, the difference.
Well, the propaganda. So the propaganda that they get, they tell them that China is all peaceful. It's all peaceful. So the propaganda ministry is working in overdrive. So when they see those jets, the Chinese citizens are taught that, oh no, we never are confrontational. We will hit back if we get hit first, but we will never make the first hit. And those aren't fighter jets; those are just private jets that rich Chinese have. So again, with Akon, with him, there is there is Chinese money funding his Akon City, which is a city in Senegal. And I think they said Senegal is the second most populated place in Africa, I think. And they said that most of the people are under like 25 years old, like the highest population. And anyway, and so his goal is to create this futuristic city. There are some people that call it Wakanda, the real Wakanda. Now, and I don't know, I haven't seen the movie Black Panther, but apparently, I don't know anything about the city, but apparently it's like some futuristic city, maybe.
Yeah, it's really futuristic. They're just technologies like top of the line. Like it's just a real rich city. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, that's what he wants to do with Akon City, and instead of using like a government fiat currency, he got the permission from the city, from the government, to say, yep, you can have a cryptocurrency if you want to use that. And because all of the people, the kids and the citizens, they all have phones, and so the way they're seeing it is, okay, well then we'll just trade with cryptocurrency, which is supposed to be less manipulated. I have to see, the jury's out on that for me, because I look at all these things, and I look at crypto, I look at Bitcoin. I have money in Bitcoin, but not a lot. But I wanted to just see sort of how it behaved, and what I've been seeing, it's weird. I'm seeing like when the market goes up, Bitcoin goes up. When the market goes down, Bitcoin goes down. So it's really like it correlates with the stock market, which is kind of discouraging for me, because I really wanted it to stand on its own, and Bitcoin is not as independent as I wanted it to be. But anyway, but his goal is to, they see Bitcoin, or they see cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency that they're coming up with is Acoin, and they see that as a way that is more fair for people to have the money. So I think it's cool. I just, anytime that there's something new, I look at, okay, who can manipulate it? Who, is there a way to manipulate it? And apparently with the blockchain, it's a lot harder to, but it's not impossible. People have been able to steal money from people. And so, it's something that you have to be careful with. But anyway, yeah, there is some Chinese investment going on. But they're talking about no cash in this city. And if this works, would this be a model for other cities to follow?
Yeah. So for the people that just kind of want to know what this Akon City will consist of, and it's pretty much the center of it, the centerpiece of Akon City will be a 5,000 bed hospital, which will cost about $1 billion to build. Besides that hospital, is going to be the construction of homes, hotels, schools, police, fire stations, an airstrip, a mall, a waste facility, and a solar power plant, and all the other hallmarks of modern day cities. And what Akon's been saying, that he wants the city to be to focus around renewable energy. So that would be good if that really comes true, or if that's possible, which I'm sure it is. And so the first phase is supposed to be completed, or expected to be completed, by 2023. The entire city running on Acoin cryptocurrency is expected to be completed by 2029.
Yeah.
So, we'll see it in our lifetime, baby.
I would love to, dude. I would love to just travel there just to see it. Yeah. I would love to see it.
Especially because, Akon being a rapper and really building his way up to where he's at right now, and then building a fucking city. That's like a different level of balling right there. So
yeah, I think that's the type of stuff that differentiates between just your regular Joe Schmo, hey, I'm doing this and I'm making my money, to, yo, I'm doing this and I'm changing the world.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're right. That is a good point. What if this is a centerpiece model of what other countries could adapt to? You know what I'm saying? To really, prevent the corruption and all this all this other stuff from happening. So
Yeah, I
I'm
wonder,
really curious
like,
to see how it goes down.
a black market, like in every, so usually they're in every, with limitations. So say, let's go back to the prohibition days of, you could say even marijuana, but let's talk about alcohol. Anytime your government says you can't have X, there is always a black market for X. And so I'm wondering, like, in Senegal, if they, in Acon City, would, because with cryptocurrency, theoretically, and this is what scares me, is you could, I don't know, maybe we need to have some crypto professionals talk, but this is my head thinking. The more digital something becomes, the more controlled. Like, who gives the money out? Where does the money come from? If it's coming from the government, well, couldn't the government just say, hey, Brett, you got a traffic fine, we're going to automatically deduct this from your next paycheck, right? If they have control over your finances, whereas right now, the way it is they would have to garnish my wages, right? It's where they have to go to the court and they have to, go through a hearing and say, okay, you owe child support and we are going to garnish you because you have back payments. We're going to garnish your wages. And so for every paycheck you get, we're going to take 500 from each check until it's caught up. There is still a way to do it with cash, right? To where you can control someone's money, but with digital currency is like, if they are tracking every little thing, and then also if you, and I don't know what their laws are for like guns or whatever, but I don't know what people would do for self-defense, but if I were to buy a gun and everything's on digital currency, who is looking at my transactions, at my financial transactions besides the IRS? Who is going through and saying, oh, okay, Brett really likes to buy Twinkies every morning before work, and then what if because we live in this fully, digital society, what if, could an insurance company, say my insurance company says, well, I want to buy Brett's data from the government, and so theoretically, if all of my money is digital, couldn't they say, hey, Brett, you seem to buy a lot of sugary drinks, or say I'm a smoker. I'm not a smoker, but say, as we smoked a cigar in the last episode.
I know, right? Lies.
But I'm not a regular smoker and I don't inhale like Bill Clinton, baby. But so say they were to look at your, and they see, alcohol, they see tobacco, they see sugar, can they look at my thing and to my deposits and my withdrawals? Can they look at my bank account, my digital crypto account, and say, wow, Brett, you spend way much, we're looking at that. We're looking at your digital profile. It looks like you're overweight. We're going to up your insurance a little bit, your premium. So anyway, it's just, it's this thing where it's sort of, these are the questions I have with anything that's new, and I'm sure that people had the same questions when, in America, when they got away from using gold and silver and they started using, fiat, paper money. And they were like, well, at first they had to call it a silver certificate. And they told people a bank cannot have more than the amount of gold. They cannot give out more paper that the paper says it's worth than the amount of gold and silver that's in their vault, right? So if they gave out 10,000 silver certificates, right, like 10,000 $1 bills, they had to have $10,000 in the bank at that time. It had to be backed by something. So if I had $5,000 in silver certificates, which is what we call the dollar bill today, if I had 5,000, I used to be able to go to the bank and say, okay, I'd like to exchange this paper silver certificate for the gold or for the silver and it would give they would give me $1 for dollar amount. So I would walk out with $5,000 in silver. But they've changed that. And so in 1971 they took us off what's called the gold standard, and they basically told banks, you no longer have to hold that amount of gold and silver in your vaults. You can get away with whatever. And then that's when they took off the silver certificate, all that stuff off. But yeah, it's so people, I'm sure they, going back to the question, is I'm sure people had that question when they were making a run on the bank during the Great Depression, and banks were closing left and right. That's when they were like, okay, we have a problem, because banks are spending money that isn't theirs. And that's when people started saying, wow, people are really, stealing our money from us, our real money. So I don't know.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Like you said, there's always a negative to the positive, obviously, with how I guess cryptocurrency would work, and all of cryptocurrency city run like, a city running on only cryptocurrency, right? So
Yeah.
it would definitely be interesting to see how that would pan out. But one thing I want to talk to you about that I also found pretty interesting in the shift of just technology. Since we're talking about, like, Akon City and all that, and because I feel like, there's going to be a lot of high tech stuff going within that city. So you're familiar with what a brand ambassador is, right?
A what?
A brand ambassador.
A brand ambassador. I'm gonna say that if you and I were to hire one, it would be someone to say, hey, it would be basically a marketer of some sort.
Yes. So, and man, I heard where they're doing this right now. It has to be somewhere, I think it's Singapore or somewhere in China, right? Figures. But what they're doing, they're creating a digital figure, a digital person, just like it would be me and you or anybody else, right? They make them to however they want, female, male, whatever you want, right? Give them the perfect skin, the perfect hair, the perfect just body overall, whatever. They make them their actual Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts, YouTube accounts to promote whatever item that they want. But Brett, here's the crazy thing. They actually seem like fucking real people. That's the trip. Like you're telling me about how it's so crazy that when you were talking about how they were putting videos of Joe Rogan saying things he never really said.
They call those deep fakes.
Yeah, but this is even more of like a crazy deep fake. They're creating this to pretty much, why pay an actual human being money? Well, we can create our own person and actually have them promote our stuff.
You know what's crazy? No, that is scary. They're literally making these figures, these digital figures that appear to be human, but they're actually smarter than humans.
Yeah.
We're like if you look at, how you see the picture where it's the evolution of man, where it starts with a chimpanzee, and then it evolves into what we are today,
the human.
Yeah, and then everybody always has their next spin-off of what the next human is going to look like, right? The
cyborg
thing beyond. Yeah, but I mean, this is the type of thing where they are literally creating, and I've seen so many people talking about these deep fakes and this manipulation. Basically, it's manipulation. It's science fiction. It's Matrix type shit where people are saying eventually we will be part of this Matrix, to where if we go along with it. Elon Musk, I mean, as much as I admire the guy, I kind of am glad I don't have any Tesla stock, just because I don't want to support. I'm very apprehensive about his Neuralink, and where he's actually, putting a chip in your brain. And,
downloading information in the snap of a finger. Hey, Brett, you want to learn Spanish? Oh, shit.
Yeah, you and I could literally talk. Now, I do see some benefits, though. I see some benefits, but again, okay, this is the altruistic or the naive way of the way I think is, I'm thinking, okay, in theory, if all of us had this Neuralink in our brain, right, there would be no need for a jury anymore if we went into court, because we
Or
could
school.
all see what is going through that officer's mind, or that criminal, that suspect's mind. That politician, if someone wants to run for politics and we ask them, well, what do you want to do in this case? What is your stance on this issue? They wouldn't even have to say anything. They would just send out that message, and they couldn't lie, right? That would be, I would love so much to have it to where we could not be lied to anymore, nor could we lie. We couldn't lie. That means, hey, Brett, what are you doing? Are you busy? Yeah, dude, super busy. And then, but in Neuralink days, no, Brett, you're not. You're playing Fortnite.
Oh yeah, I didn't know. That's my projector making it seem like I was, but I'm not really.
Sorry, I forgot my chip was on.
No, that's true, man. It's like I said, with every positive thing from it, there's always going to be a negative side to it, where they're going to use it for the wrong, or for the wrong reasons, I guess you can say.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that Neuralink project that he's doing, which they already tested, by the way, they tested it on a pig. I don't know if you've seen that, or you read about it, and they said it was pretty successful. Like they could pretty much see the waves in the pig's brain, like the Neuralink working and like actually sending like messages to the brain waves.
Yeah.
So okay. That's the first step.
Okay, so I said what I would like about it, but then now the things that scare me are, could they change behaviors? Like, say they want to take our rights away from us. Could they send dopamines to our brain to make us think that, you know what, I'm so dumb. Why would I need a gun to protect myself? Mm-hmm. You want to raise taxes? Yes, we should. You should have 90% of the money. I should be able to figure out some way to make 10% of my income work, and then they do this thing. Oh, okay. Oh, you don't want me to drive to and from work, and I'm forced to carpool with 10 people, and I mean, if they can control you basically, do we have free will at that point? Mm-hmm. Do we have any say? Do we have any way to resist? And who controls? Who is the one with the keys?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be the driver behind that seat, driving that automobile, dude?
Yep. I've had this talk with my wife, and I've just told her, I've just been preparing for her. I'm gonna be like, I swear to God, the next David Koresh, the next Randy Weaver. But I told her, I said, if they ever think that they're going to force a chip in my body, I'm not doing it. If I have to lose my home and my all of my belongings, my job, my everything, fine. I just want to be a normal human with no digital interaction and more digital. Like, I have a phone, I have a chip in my credit card. I don't want to go beyond that. I think I've went as far as I can. They already have chips in our cars that can track us everywhere we go. You know what I mean? Yeah. Google knows exactly where I've been because it tracks it from my phone. And I've looked at my route before. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot I was in Montana at this point. You know what I mean? I don't. So I'm that will be the hill that I die on.
Is it okay? I think it's time to put our little tinfoil hats on for a little conspiracy time. So you're talking about the chips and like how you would be just so against, getting anything implanted in you for you to conform to whatever, right? Whatever the agenda is, I guess you can say. There's this conspiracy, right? When this vaccine comes out. So think about it, right? All the stores that you go to, hospitals, wherever, buildings, just whatever store, right? What's the first thing that you see now? You have to wear a mask before you enter the store, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. And people, you're hearing it from me. If you have no proof of the vaccine, you're not going to be able to get to the store. You're not going to be able to enter the school. You're not going to be able to go to work. I'm just saying, like, maybe it just seems
I die on too.
It just seems like too much of a, like, it's just kind of like the next thing in line from the mask. Okay, now we came up with this vaccine. You have to get it, so you can actually, not get anybody else sick or not get sick. But I don't know. I was thinking about that because I mean, I
Yeah.
listen to just a lot of podcasts and, I talk about just different conspiracies. And that one made a lot of sense because it's like, what if they really try to force this on people to where in order for you to, like go to a store, go to a hospital, go, your kids go to school, because obviously you have to have, I don't know if it's 2 or 1 shot for your kids to go to school that they have to get if they want to go to a public school, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have
Right. So now
the
they're going
shot.
to, what if they add the COVID-19 vaccine to that?
Then we have, well, for one, we move somewhere where they don't require that. There's enough Americans that are on board. I saw this funny meme. I love memes. Is where and I think it was an episode out of South Park where I think Stan got COVID-19 and he goes,
Oh,
"Oh,
I haven't seen South Park in a while, man.
I'm infected with COVID-19. Um, just in case I'm not part of the 99.9% that live and I end up dying. This is my goodbye to you. You know,
Shit.
I mean, it's like, yeah, you look at the death rate of this thing. This thing is so, like, yes, there have been people that have died. There have been people, um, but to me, like, it does not warrant these forced and that's what I'm saying is these forced vaccinations. I don't know. I mean, I look at the measles. I would have to know. I would have to know more. But to force me to take a shot, I mean, really, I think I'm sort of prepared. I think that I can see like this weird stuff happening all around me anyway. And I look at the people in China and how they just go with it. They go to these internment camps. They go and no one really fights. Um, I don't know, man. Maybe it's the my ancestors that were throwing tea over the harbor in the Boston Tea Party. Maybe that's still in me. But I'm ready to pour some tea again. I'm ready
Yeah.
to start dumping tea over the harbor. Um, but I'm sort of fed up. I'm sort of fed up with these forced. Everything's forced, and you have to comply. And I don't know. Like I said, I think we've lost so many freedoms that I think at some point in time you have to decide for yourself where is that line for you. And for me, I think it's approaching. You start telling me I have to wear. Listen, I wear the stupid mask. But I'm not putting anything in my body. I'm not putting any juices uh, in my body, in my veins. I'm not doing any of that crazy stuff. I'm not putting chips in me. I'm just going to be a normal human. Oh, but Brett, it's so different from the other vaccines. Well, what I
Show
didn't get.
me. Show me.
I had what's that called? Um, chicken pox. Don't you have a vaccine now that prevents chicken pox?
I don't know, but I had it.
Yeah, I had
I
chicken
survived.
pox. I mean, I dealt with
Mhm.
it. It was something that we just dealt with. But they have a vaccine. But nowadays, I don't know. I mean, and here's the other side. Like, why force it? Why force it? If
Mhm.
it's something that I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one. It's a weird one because I want data I want to see real data. I want to see, but for something where just nobody dies. I mean, but then again, I'm thinking about chicken pox. Nobody died with chicken pox and we still had a mandatory vaccine,
Yeah.
so it's still this balance that we have to have as a society, where, if scientists really can, come up with these things that say, hey, listen, this vaccine actually surrounds this whole thing. I don't want to say that I am completely opposed to the vaccine, but if we find out there's some crazy shit behind it, like, they talk about Bill Gates owning the rights to it, and what I mean? I'm like, what does he have to do with it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's I mean, a
I
lot of
don't know.
questions. I mean, there's a lot of questions that we definitely want answers to, right? Like, if if you're mandating this, I want to see every result from every patient that took this. I want to see, the success rate, blah blah blah, all the facts.
Yeah.
Cut the bullshit. So that's kind of
And
how I am.
and I
Just because,
think that,
I want to know. That's it.
yeah, I think that yeah, that would be interesting. It would be interesting to have to say goodbye. Like, if my employer were to tell me I had to verify that I've had the shot, they wouldn't let me work. That might be, and it might be one of those things that like, how bad would that suck if I said, nope, I'm going to lose everything, and I clean out my 401k and, all that, and just to survive for a while. And then I'd find out that it's no different than the chickenpox vaccine. You know what I mean? I'd feel pretty stupid.
I thought Brett worked here. He used to work here.
Yeah, he was one of those crazies. Yeah. So I mean, but it wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time I've been accused of, But anytime there's this question with the authority and this forcing of these vaccinations, I mean, it obviously sets off a lot of alarms. I mean, people, these anti-vaxxers get a lot of shit, because they say, oh, I don't want my kid in school or whatever. But what's so wrong with just proving, using scientific data to prove to these people that, hey, there's really nothing to be concerned of. I understand the fears that you have. And like one of the fears is that they talk about SIDS, they talk about autism. And I think that they've debunked autism, but why do people still believe it? So what, if you can, but maybe some of those anti-vaxxers are so hardcore in their beliefs, like some of these flat earthers are. And, I don't understand flat earthers, but maybe I've worked in aerospace too long, maybe I've flown too many trips planes around the world too many times that I'm just like, I look at the moon, I look at how we have different phases of the moon, the first quarter, second quarter, whatever. I don't know. I've seen too many solar eclipses. I've seen
that's what I was gonna say.
Too many things have proven to me that this thing is round. And Galileo, it's been round since Galileo told me it was round. That's all I'm saying. Like he was onto something when he said that this thing was round. Not only that it was round, but that Earth wasn't the center of the universe. I'm round. Like, he's got a point, guys.
You guys might want to listen to this guy. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you that because it was something that got me the wheel spinning when I heard about that, on how, what if they really mandated this vaccine that, in order for you to get into these places, or even like concerts, or, all this other stuff, maybe going through the airport.
Yeah.
You have to have the COVID-19, shot.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, gosh, that might be one of those weird things. I don't know. Just want to prepare the listeners if I ever go silent. I'll text you as much as I can, but I might have to get a dumb phone. Might have to get
the trap phone.
I'll get a burner phone. Like, hey, I'm gonna be calling you from random numbers, but
it's a 713 number.
Yeah. Bro, I'm in Puerto Rico now. Puerto Rico is definitely one of the places I want to end up. They have no income tax.
No internet, right?
No, they have internet.
You have internet?
Yeah, they have internet.
Oh, chef.
Until hurricanes tear that shit up.
Yeah, right.
But no.
Shout out Puerto Rico, though. We probably have listeners Puerto Rico.
Move to Puerto Rico. I'm looking at different. My wife and I, we've been talking a lot about moving lately. And
really?
I think my time in Washington is up. There's this like nomad. I think that I am a nomad. My ancestors were known for traveling. They traveled, and whether it was the Native American, the indigenous side of my family, or the European side, I can see that there's just been a lot of traveling. So there's something in me that just yearns to travel. And I have a hard time staying in one place at one time. We've lived in multiple locations, and I was just telling my wife the other day, I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy in Washington. There's something compelling me to leave. There's just like this inner something burning. So so I'm sort of like, behind the scenes preparing for to start, I'm starting to check off the box. Like there's some things I got to do to the house before we can sell it. There's a couple financial things I've got to just prepare for. But yeah, I'm looking at just at least preparing for it. But when we finally do decide, then we're ready to do it, you know. But
Oh
I think,
shit. Okay.
yeah, it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know. There's just this burning nomad in me that just wants to travel, that wants to experience a new area. Um, I think I'm looking for something more rural. You know, I definitely want to get away from people. I want to get away from the stresses of the city. I just think that the city, I've seen, you know, the worst of the worst. I think I've seen, like, everybody talked about all the cool things that the city has to offer. Yeah, it does, but you know, I see a lot of despair when I go to the city, especially Seattle. When I look at Seattle, I see more unhappy people than I see happy people. I see
Mm.
people. I see a lot of stress, and I'm amazed. I am really appalled. Amazed is not the right. I'm appalled at how many homeless people I see on the streets, and you know, they talk about how they are coming up with all these low income housing, and these, you know, they, you can say whatever you want, but you're not, until you can do something about the drug problem, you're never going to fix the homeless problem. And
Yeah.
all they've done with the drugs is they've just legalized it. And they've even had talks about having a clean injection site. And, you know, they were talking about putting a clean injection site like a block away from the Mariners stadium. And I was just thinking, I don't want to take my kids to that,
Yeah.
you know? So, yeah, and I grew up in, you know, in Montana, and I had a rural upbringing, and I loved it. I loved, like, the going to the creek and, you know, just jumping in the creek, not worrying about nothing. You know, throwing a fishing line, riding your bike in the country, looking at all the deer. And, you know, I looked at that, and I'm just thinking, what kind of world do I want to raise my kids in? Do I want them to see the despairs of the city? Because the city, Seattle, has made it very clear they do not want to fix their mess. And
Mhm.
it's one of the biggest messes in our country right now is Seattle. Portland is a huge mess, San Francisco. And, you know, and these were cities that, those three cities in particular, were cities that when I lived in Montana in 2008, they really appealed to me. I thought San Francisco with the Golden Gate Bridge with their steep hills was so beautiful. I remember the first time I saw the Space Needle when I was 18 and I came to Seattle for the first time. I said, I would love to live in Seattle, you know.
Yeah.
And Portland was just always cool because they had like that, their own little scene. It was just a totally different vibe from the rest of the West, but everybody said it was like a sister to Seattle, you know. But something happened. I don't know what happened. Something happened where just a lot of unhappy people, a lot of poverty, a lot of drugs, and I'm going, you know, it ain't like this in the rural areas. You know, people, they still, you know, they still care about each other in the thing, and I think that's one thing you don't see so much in the city as well.
No, I
So
hear you, bro. I mean, I hear you. I think there's just, it kind of discourages you a bit to be in the area where you're at when you see the same bullshit year after year, day after day, and nothing really gets done about it by, you know, our government officials and all that. It's just, it's kind of, it's really discouraging in my eyes too. And I think I talked about it, you know, about it with you, even on the pod and off the pod, that, you know, if my own hometown was 30 minutes away, I'd move there in a heartbeat, away
yeah,
from the city, away from just fucking traffic, all that. I'm not a fan of it personally myself. My wife is, she likes it, but she took a turn and actually said to me one day, you know, like I mentioned, I think 2 episodes ago, that she would not mind living out in the outskirts,
yeah.
just fucking out there,
Yeah, there's
man.
something about that I think changes once you have children. You know, once you
Yeah.
have children and you're like, wow, you know, I understand. Like when I see, you know, things going on in the city and like I see a druggie walking up, you know, I know how to react to it, you know.
Hmm.
But what does my kid think when she sees this guy, you know, who hasn't had a shower in weeks and his beard is all matted up and he's asking for money? Like what, you know, what do you tell her? How does she react to it?
Hmm.
And it's not that I want to see it, you know, and it's not that I don't want this guy to get help. I do, but like there's a reason why there's all why Seattle and San Francisco mainly, or in particular, have so many of those people. What are they doing to attract all of this homelessness? And I mean, there were people that I've talked to that said, yeah, we can't even take our kids to the park because there's all these syringe needles out there. What if your kid ended up getting some sort of disease because they were playing on the playground and they accidentally slid down the slide and landed on a needle? All because some other druggies, and again, the city officials aren't doing anything about it. So and there's been a lot of flight from the city. A lot of people have been fleeing the city over these past few months, mainly because of all the civil unrest. And if I'm a business owner and I've lost my business because the police can't protect my business any longer, and we already talked about the $1 billion in insurance, I'm thinking, well, okay, I'm going to go to a community where the police will protect my business and will protect my home and will, do have the freedoms to be able to do their jobs. Seattle, that's another thing with Seattle. The mayor, which is, Jenny Durkin, is probably one of the worst mayors I've ever seen, and she has no backbone whatsoever. She didn't stand up to getting the city overrun and overtaken, and she agreed that the police, should be, basically told not told to stand down, basically. And they lost the police precinct. I mean, none of that should have ever happened. There should have been an emergency declaration. The National Guard should have been brought in a long time ago, and it didn't. Well, anyway, so now all of a sudden she's coming to her senses because the protesters surrounded her house, and someone doxed her, and I'm pretty sure it was the well, I don't know what her name is, the lady that married the Microsoft exec. I don't know. I've said her name before on the podcast, but anyway, she's very, she's very vocal. And anyway, so I'm pretty sure she was the one that released Jenny Durkin's address. And it wasn't until that happened that she started getting serious and saying, okay, I'm going to veto defunding the police. We're not going to defund the police. We're not going to take these police out, because that's essentially what the protesters want in Seattle. Is they do not want a police department anymore. And so she tried to veto it, but the city council had more votes, had enough votes to override the veto. So they are getting rid of, or heavily defunding, the police. So they're starting, and what the protesters call a down payment. There's 100 police officers that are going to lose their job at the end of this year. So, so you have even less police now. Now you have 100 less police in a very volatile situation. I don't feel safe. I don't feel like I can protect my family enough. And, it's only a matter before it starts to spread. Once they can seize Seattle, they start looking at other cities. They start looking at Tacoma. They start looking at Linwood. They start looking at, all the cities around. And I don't see anyone around here. Our governor, he's made it very clear he's not willing to stop it. So, I just think that it's time. I've looked at, like, oh, what am I going to do for money? I've already made it. I know I've come to grips with the fact that I probably won't make the money that I'm making here elsewhere, but I've always been able to find a way. I've always been able to just say, you know what, I'll figure something out. I always do. So yeah, that's the sort of the thing going through my head, and with our area in particular. It sucks. It's a hard thing, because I remember when I first moved to Washington feeling so excited about living here. And
Yeah, for sure.
I hate it now. It's just, I hate it. I'm ashamed of our governor. I'm ashamed of the city mayor of Seattle. I'm ashamed of even, some of these laws up here that they've just become so friendly with drug use, with, and you see what drugs do to people's lives. and people just, the city leaders just don't seem to care.
For sure. Yeah, it's just I haven't really seen any like how do you say any headway to make anything like a change around our area or anything like that. It's just it seems it's just getting worse, honestly. So yeah, I mean I agree with you on that. It's just it's changed over just since I moved here too, back in like '07, '08. Huge
Yeah.
change, man. It wasn't this bad even compared to back then to now. It's just gotten worse.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude,
man.
and this is going to be a place that I'm going to miss too, because like one thing, I never ate seafood before I came here, and once I had seafood directly from the sound, today we had crab. You know, we had some neighbors that went, actually they went to Alaska last week, and so they brought us some crab. But to have that fresh crab, I'm like, this stuff is so good, you know. And
Nice.
living in Montana, I was just an inlander, you know. I loved my, you know, if I wanted to treat myself, I loved my steak, I loved my you know, my inland animals, my, you know. But if I wanted to treat myself, I'd get a bison burger, you know.
But
But I was never a fan of seafood, and but now it's like that's something that living in on this side of Washington has changed forever. I will always like I appreciate fish and seafood in a way that I never did before. And
yeah,
you know,
seafood's bomb, man. Seafood is bomb. It's yeah. The what is it? Sushi, yeah, it's all right. I'm a really pretty bad experience having it the first time, and I've just been scarred since then. But like shrimp, lobster, crab, yeah, that's all bomb. That's all bomb to me. I'll eat that.
there was a place. Oh, what's the place? It's next to the crab pot on the waterfront in Seattle. Fisherman's. I forget what it's called.
I'm not sure.
Oh, but man, when I first came to Seattle to sort of scope it out to see if I wanted to live here, it was in January of 2011, I think 2011. Yeah, January 2011. I was here for New Year's that year, and I went to that place that was next to the crab pot, and I think it's owned by the same owner, but they had these coconut prawns, and that was the first time that I'd had a prawn in my life, and I'm telling you, man, I was hooked. It was so good. Oh my gosh, I was like, dude, if this is what seafood tastes like, I've been missing out.
Yeah.
I've been missing
No,
out.
yeah. I wasn't really a big seafood eater till I think I moved over here too. I wasn't really that much into it, and especially my wife, her family, her side of the family loves seafood. She's always making ceviche and all that stuff, and we're always grubbing on that, man. Shrimp in
Yeah.
particular, that's kind of our main thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, I'm on this. I'm on the same page as you, dude.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's been going on with us, and definitely we have. I love it when we are able to put on our conspiracy theory hats, though. That's always what.
Yeah, I mean, no, I feel like it should be like kind of a segment and just talk about at least like one conspiracy theory an episode or something like that, just to kind of like, do something different or whatever on every episode, because you always hear some interesting ones to where they're like, damn, that actually could be true. But then there's some that I'm just kind of like, I don't know about that. I kind of have a hard time dabbling with it, or just certain ones sometimes. But there's like the vaccine one, that one kind of made a little bit more sense. Like that could be legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Yeah. The one that I'm waiting for the truth with the JFK assassination, and I think they were waiting for H.W. Bush to die, and then didn't he die? He died. Yeah, he died, but
I think it
then they
did.
still haven't come out with anything, because he was the head of the CIA or the FBI. I think it was the CIA back then, and when he was, the conspiracy theory was that the CIA wanted Kennedy dead,
Mm-hmm.
and so they said, okay, well, once he dies, then we can talk more,
Yeah,
and
we
because
should
they
definitely
didn't.
talk. We
Yeah.
should definitely talk about that. Some pretty interesting facts about that make it kind of a conspiracy, because there is some ones that when I listen to just like some crazy facts about it, how it was a setup and all that. I
Mm-hmm.
think I even called you that day when I listened to it, and I was like, "Yo, bro, there's so much shit here. There's so many red flags that this shit was like a hit."
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
dude. Oh
so
yeah. Yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool. And then the other one that I want to find out, and I don't think I'll find it in my lifetime, but the 9/11. I want to know why Donald
Yeah.
Rumsfeld on 9/10, 2001, the day before the planes hit, was talking about like trillions of dollars that went missing, and they said, "We don't know where it went." And it was about to be one of the biggest like things that happened, one of the biggest news. Like how does I think it was $2 trillion, how does $2 trillion just magically disappear? And
Yeah,
then the
that's
next
crazy.
day was the day that changed our entire generation.
Oh yeah.
So that's another one that I look at. And yeah, it's crazy, man. There's a lot of crazy things out there. And interesting stuff, man. And it's enough to keep the listeners tuned in, because this is the stuff that keeps us up at night.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is the type of stuff that, me and Brett shoot Texas, here and there, talking about just the crazy conspiracy the day that we listen to, and we definitely try our hardest to save it for the podcast and talk about it. So, everybody else can be kind of, joining in the conversation. So, but yeah, man, it's crazy. But there's one thing I do want to do before we wrap this up, because I think we're almost at 2 hours with this episode. I think
Wow.
it's crazy how time flies when we have a good conversation. But um, I want to give I definitely want to do kind of like a little promo reel right here for a good friend of ours, his wife, Brad. So shout out to Brad. Follow him at Brad J. Oh wait, no, Spot the Fire, at Spot the Fire. If you want the coolest, latest and greatest in regards to shoes, clothing, and all that cool stuff, go
Woo.
check him out. But
Yes.
his wife, his future wife, his fiance as of now, Diane Selvey, she's a graphic designer, awesome graphic designer. She actually made Brad's logo for his online store for Spot the Fire. If anybody out there is looking for any logo work, website, a business cards, album artwork, brand guidelines, or one-off flyers, or just some help with marketing. If you need help with marketing, she's the person to hit up. You can check her out on Instagram at Diane Selvey Design, and we'll definitely plug that up once we upload this on the YouTube channel. If for anybody that's looking for any of the stuff that I just listed, check her workout. And she also has a website, dianeselvey.com. So definitely wanted to just give her just a shout out for anybody that's looking for that type of work. She is your go-to person to go to. So yeah, but besides that, Brett, I mean, I think we definitely cover some good ground with this episode. I'm always it's always awesome to be back and chop it up with you and just talk
Yeah.
about just the random shit that comes to mind, and just providing some good content for the people out there, for all the listeners, for all our new listeners, old listeners, just everybody that's been rocking with us since day one. Thank you very much as always. And
Yes.
for everybody else, check us out on Instagram at the Tip Touch Podcast, and also check out our YouTube video content. Just look us up at the Tip Touch Podcast on there as well. We're staying active. This is the video part of it, which I will upload to that as well. And we're gonna keep doing this. We're trying to do this every weekend, so you can have a new episode every week. So we're gonna keep on trucking with that and keep it consistent with that. And we're also trying to get in the loop of having more future guests on here, because we definitely like chopping it up with different people, whether if it's an entrepreneur, or it could be possibly a politician within our area, because I know Brett wanted to do something in regards to that, getting maybe, I don't know, somebody that's running for local mayor or something,
Mhm.
just as an example, that we want to talk to or whatever.
I want to get Joe Budden. I want to
Joe
hear it.
Bud.
I want to hear it directly from the
Joe
horse's
Biden or
mouth.
Joe Budden? Which one?
Not Biden. No,
Joe
Budden.
Budden.
Joe
Oh, Joe
Budden. I want to
Budden.
know, like, with the whole. I mean, we don't have enough time to go into it, but I want to know with that whole thing with Spotify, because they really like treated him like a god for a while, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, just shit went sour. And it's interesting. I think that there's a lot more to the story than what we're hearing. And oh man, I'd love to hear more, because it sucks when you hear when something that was a good relationship all of a sudden goes bad, and you're like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah.
What are we not seeing?
It's
You know?
we can definitely do our research and touch a little bit more on that on the next one, on the next episode for sure, because it is a good topic. I feel it kind of we can relate to that just because, like, you know, I really truly feel like once we keep consistent with this, we can get to a point where we're going to grow a pretty nice little following, and then, you know, whatever all the good stuff comes with it, you know, whatever we're fortunate enough to hopefully, you know, make nice little venture deals or whatever, or make a business deal with, you know, a big company like Spotify. I'm not saying Spotify in specific, but, you know, to be in that position, it definitely would kind of relate to us as well, to be, you know, to know for ourselves what we feel like we're worth if we're gonna do a partnership, right?
Yeah.
So,
man. Hey, if we got to make our episodes and sell it out the trunk, I'm down for that.
old school, back to the old school days, just slanging them out the
Yeah.
trunks.
Hey, man, you got to listen to this podcast. We're talking about alien lizard men, politicians.
Oh yeah, dude, taking it old school. We're going back in time, baby. But yeah, that would be a good topic to go back to. With the whole Joe Budden and Spotify beef, we'll definitely have to, you know, touch tips on that. But yeah, for everybody that's out there, go listen to all of our past previous content as well on all major streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn FM Radio, Google Music Play. You know what it is. Wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, we're on there, baby. Just look us up. And until then, we'll catch everybody later. Have a safe weekend. Have an awesome day. Take care, and we're out.
Go vote.